Debate 4 is come and gone. Who will drop out before Debate 5? And Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings, has died. How is it going to impact the Democrats' impeachment inquiry into President Trump?
We are back with Democratic strategist Deshandra Jackson and White House Politico reporter Gabby Orr. Ladies, fundraising numbers, the big thing that everyone is looking at is Biden's cash on hand. Okay, these are the overall numbers, what they raised in Q3. You got Sanders in the lead. Not a good number for Biden there at $15 million. But even worse, Deshandra, he only has $9 million in the bank. And this morning we're learning that he spent $1 million on private jets. Not a good look.
Well, first of all, I think he needs to stop getting comfortable as thinking of himself as the front runner, because in his mind, he's probably like, okay, you know, when we get to the general, I'll get more money. But this is a real race. Yeah. And as we can see from those numbers, don't count out the progressives and don't count out Buttigieg, who is right on his heels. You know, he needs to slow down a bit. It looks like also from his report, he's spending money to raise money, which is never a good thing. Right. You know, his team is going to look at, you know, how do we cut back on spending and how do we go for low dollar fundraisers, you know, donors, because that's where the enthusiasm is.
And it hasn't worked because, as they said, they pulled all of their ads online because it wasn't seeing a return. Actually, a report out of Politico this morning, Gabby, that the Biden camp was saying that they haven't had as long to establish themselves for the front. He's been in office for 40 years. He's a former vice president of the United States.
He's always putting his arms around Obama rhetorically.
That is literally the worst spin I've ever seen in my life.
And he said over and over again on Tuesday night, I've done this before. I'm familiar with how these work. I'm not going to have a learning curve when I get into office. Okay, well, if you have done this before, why are you spending $380,000 in one quarter on policy consulting and political consulting and strategic consulting? You are running essentially on the Obama platform. Why do you need to spend $30,000 over 4 months on policy consulting?
You just cut and paste. Just cut and paste.
This is Hillary 07 all over again. She was like, I'm just going to hire all these Ron Klain, who now works for Joe Biden.
Stay at the W, fly private, etc.
One other thing, I mean, you said don't count on being able to just have a cash advantage heading into the general election. Also, don't count on the DNC to be able to provide a cash advantage. Because look at where the DNC is right now. I mean, the Republican National Committee and the Trump campaign have eclipsed them long ago in terms of fundraising. And I think any person in the Democratic Party right now who is even close to becoming the front runner or is the front runner needs to be mindful that they're not going to have that advantage.
And his defense, if you can call it that, I haven't had as much time, is particularly ridiculous when you think about Andrew Yang, who has never run for anything and is now nipping at his heels, both in terms of overall cash raised and cash in the bank. Like, it's just patently absurd.
He's got $6 million in the bank. He's got 2/3 of what Joe Biden has in the bank.
And the problem with Biden, then again, he's just gotten so comfortable. You know, there has been so much made about him being the front runner. He has the establishment support thus far. Again, until Buttigieg or someone else comes and takes that from him, he's gotten too comfortable. He is not in this race. He's not in it to win it. He's not in it to win. He doesn't have that hunger. He doesn't have that fire. And this is a huge, historically diverse field. He needs to, you know, light a fire, something.
Well, and from the jump, you know, when he first announced his campaign, he did his video about Charlottesville. He's just talking about Trump. It was like, I'm the heir apparent. Of course, you'll pick me. There's this sense of entitlement and this crabbiness around having to lower himself to even have these debates with the rest of the riffraff on it. That's exactly what it reminds me of. And people do not like that sense of entitlement.
And the difference is Hillary Clinton, I would argue, had the party apparatus behind her. I don't think that Joe Biden has that same level of support. I know that there are some people who think that the DNC, Democratic establishment individuals who have been supporting him all along are willing to kind of carry him through to the general election. But I just don't think that that support is there to the extent it was for Clinton.
Well, if it was, maybe Barack Obama would have endorsed him. I mean, that in and of itself says a whole lot.
I mean, he's sitting it out, even though Biden is always invoking his name, invoking his legacy.
Which must drive him crazy.
It's got to drive him crazy. And again, we have this historic field, and it's just like, Biden, you got to work for it. I'm sorry. You've got to work for it.
Well, and some other numbers, you know, weren't great. You've got a lot of these folks who are hanging on to $1 million or a couple million in the bank. Julian Castro now, cash on hand, under $1 million. Tim Ryan was like 100 and something thousand in the bank.
Forgot he was still in there.
Joe Sestak, I would have forgotten, except he emails me every morning.
I know. How did I
with
get
his
it?
thing called Cup of
like,
Joe.
Really?
I don't know. I highly recommend it. It's always in there.
This is the most press he's gotten this entire campaign right here and now. You've got Michael Bennett hanging on, didn't make the debate stage. Steve Bullock didn't make the debate stage. Julian Castro hasn't made the next debate stage. How many of these people are going to be out before the next debate?
I mean, at this point, it's becoming a vanity campaign for some of them. I was looking at the burn rate for John Delaney, and it's just like, I mean, and he's been campaigning, for like 2 years now?
Yeah.
And he's barely made a blip. He can't make these debate stages.
Right.
I mean, at some point, they're going to have to sit down and have a come to Jesus with themselves and say, really, am I going to be the next president, or is this about my ego?
Yeah,
or how about Tom Steyer
in the bank,
spending $47 million to get on those debate stage? It's insane. And Nate Silver did the math, and it was like
$7 million a minute.
$7 million per minute of speaking time.
Congrats, Tom. Gabby, who do you think is going to drop out next? Or, I mean, what is it going to take for some of these people to drop out?
I mean, I think that you are going to see those third-tier candidates win out before the Iowa caucuses. I don't think that there are very many who can last to the end of the year, quite frankly. We always say that there are 3 tickets out of Iowa. In this case, if Joe Biden continues to have these numbers, there might only be 2 tickets to New Hampshire because there's very
He may
little...
not have the money for the plane ride over to New Hampshire.
Joe's going to be in coach.
Meanwhile, we have some incredibly sad news this morning that Congressman Chairman Elijah Cummings, chair of the House Oversight Committee, obviously a key, crucial figure in all that is going on surrounding Trump investigations and Trump impeachment, has passed away at the age of 68 due to longstanding health issues. Gabby, reflect a little bit on who he is, who he was in his life, his career, how he was thought of on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I mean, he is somebody who has always tried to work across the aisle to be as bipartisan as possible. And I think, you teased out when talking about the death of Elijah Cummings, the impeachment inquiry and the role that he played in that. And I think it's certainly important to talk about, but it's even more important to focus on the legacy that he leaves behind long before we even started talking about impeachment.
True. Yeah.
He's a civil rights icon, somebody who has worked to really address the problems that so many Americans care about. I just know that he's been a stalwart supporter of trying to address prescription drug prices. He's tried to work with this administration. Obviously, that didn't work out, but he put in that effort early on. So I do think that there are so many things that he left behind that we need to focus on as opposed to talking about impeachment.
I think that's well said. Deshandra?
No, I think he leaves some really, big shoes that are going to be very hard to fill. Listen, he believed in this. He loved Baltimore. We saw that during the riots when he got out there with the bullhorn in hand trying to calm people down and trying to let people know that that investigation will be taken seriously. I remember
what real leadership looks like.
That's what real leadership looks like.
Coming out and actually doing the work.
Putting yourself out there, putting yourself in harm's way, but letting people know that you're with them, that you're one of them, and that you share these concerns. And again, beyond impeachment, he's one of those people on Capitol Hill. He's one of those congressmen who really believed, who really went there to serve. This was not a vanity project. This was not... I'm here to see, be an important person. He really believed in what he was doing, and he loved his constituents. He loves our country. His death was a loss for our democracy.
Yeah, it really was a loss. I mean, I know a lot of people who've worked on some of these issues, and Republicans who said, I remember walking through the streets of West Baltimore with Elijah Cummings trying to come up with an idea, in order to stop the drug crisis and all this. So he never let partisanship get ahead of the message on that. And
get ahead of actually doing the work. Big shoes to fill. I think that is well said, and our thoughts are certainly with his family today. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Great to have you.
Really appreciate it. Tomorrow on Rising, the Hill's editor-in-chief Bob Cusack. He joins us with the debrief.
Congressman Jody Hice joins us live from Capitol Hill, and we're going to talk to Dr. Abdul El Sayed. Will give us his take on Medicare for All. Have a great day, everybody.
See you tomorrow.